Lisa Morgan opened her eyes slowly. Her head felt like someone had hit it with a hammer. The room around her was dark except for a few red emergency lights that blinked on and off. She tried to sit up, but her body ached everywhere. The air smelled like burned metal and smoke. She was lying on a medical bed in what looked like the ship's medical bay. Lisa remembered being on the bridge when the enemy ships attacked. There had been explosions everywhere. A piece of the ceiling had fallen and hit her. After that, everything went black. Lisa stood up carefully and walked to the nearest wall panel. She pressed some buttons, but nothing happened. The screen stayed dark. She tried another panel, and this time it flickered to life. The display showed that she was on the UES Valiant, a big human battleship. But something was very wrong. According to the computer, the ship was floating in space with no power to the main engines. Most of the crew areas showed no life signs. Lisa felt cold fear in her stomach. Where was everyone? She walked out of the medical bay and into the main corridor. The hallway was completely dark except for the emergency lights. Her footsteps echoed in the empty space. She called out, but no one answered. The ship felt dead and empty. Lisa made her way to the nearest computer terminal that was still working. She entered her access codes and pulled up the ship's logs. What she read made her heart sink. The human fleet had been defeated. Admiral Kane had ordered all ships to retreat. The Valiant had been badly damaged and was listed as lost with all hands, but she was still alive. They had left her behind. Lisa read more of the logs. The alien coalition had won a major victory. The Kethver reptiles, the bug-like Zephyrians, and the crystal beings called Veltar had worked together to destroy most of the human fleet. The battle had lasted 3 days. On the final day, the human ships had been forced to run or be completely destroyed. The Valiant had taken heavy damage early in the fight. A Kethver plasma torpedo had hit the bridge and caused massive explosions throughout the ship. The captain and most of the senior officers had been killed. Admiral Kane had ordered the surviving crew to abandon ship and retreat with the rest of the fleet. Lisa had been unconscious in the medical bay when the evacuation happened. The medical computer showed that her vital signs had been very weak. The evacuation team must have thought she was dead or dying. They had left her behind with the ship. She felt angry and scared at the same time. How could they leave her? But she also understood. In a battle like that, there was no time to check every room. If someone looked dead, you had to move on to save the people who were still alive. Lisa continued reading the logs. The alien forces had not bothered to board the abandoned human ships. They were too confident in their victory. The enemy commanders thought all the human ships were completely destroyed or empty. They had moved on to chase the retreating human fleet. That meant she was alone on a dead battleship floating in enemy space. But she was alive, and the ship might not be as dead as it looked. Lisa had been a combat engineer before becoming an officer. She knew how ships were built and how to fix them. She had also worked on salvage crews that repaired damaged vessels. If anyone could bring a dead ship back to life, it was her. She made her way to the engineering section. The corridors were dark and cold. Some areas had been damaged by explosions. She had to climb over fallen ceiling panels and broken pipes. The ship was hurt badly, but the main structure was still solid. In the main engineering room, Lisa found the central power core. It was shut down but not destroyed. The alien attacks had damaged the power distribution system, not the core itself. If she could repair the damaged systems, she might be able to get some power back. Lisa spent the next few hours checking different systems. The ship's computer core was damaged but still working. The life support system was running on emergency power. The engines were offline but not completely broken. The weapon systems were badly hurt, but some could be fixed. Most importantly, she found that the ship's manufacturing bay was still working. The Valiant had been designed to build its own replacement parts and repair drones. If she could get more power to the manufacturing systems, she could start fixing the ship, but first she needed to deal with the most basic problem. She was one person on a ship built for 3,000 crew members. Even if she could fix everything, she could not operate a battleship by herself. Lisa remembered that the Valiant had been testing new automated systems. The ship's computer could control many functions without human help. There were also hundreds of maintenance robots stored in the cargo bays. If she could program them properly, they might be able to help her as she worked. Lisa thought about the alien coalition. They had defeated humanity and were probably hunting down the surviving human colonies. The aliens thought they had won completely. They did not know that one human was still alive on a battleship that could be repaired. Lisa made a promise to herself. She would fix this ship. She would make it stronger than before. Then she would find the alien command ship and show them what happened when they left a human behind. She had work to do. Lisa worked for 18 hours straight before she collapsed from exhaustion. She had managed to get partial power back to 3 decks of the ship. The lights were on in the main corridors and the life support was working better. But there was still so much to do. She woke up on the floor of the engineering room where she had fallen asleep. Her body was sore, but she felt more hopeful than before. The ship hummed quietly around her. It was not the powerful sound of a healthy battleship, but it was alive. Lisa made her way to the bridge. Half of the control panels were dark, but some were working now. She sat in the captain's chair and activated the main computer. The screen flickered and then showed the ship's status. The computer's voice spoke for the first time since she had awakened. It was a male voice, calm and professional. Lisa had always thought the ship's AI sounded too formal. She decided to change that. She accessed the AIS personality settings and made some adjustments. When the computer spoke again, its voice was warmer and more friendly. Lisa decided to give it a name. She called it Phoenix because they were both rising from the ashes of defeat. Phoenix helped her plan the repair work. The AI showed her which systems were most important to fix first. Together they made a list of priorities. Power systems came first, then life support, then the manufacturing bays that would build new parts. Lisa spent the next week working on the power grid. She crawled through damaged sections of the ship, replacing burned cables and fixing broken connections. It was dangerous work. Some areas had been exposed to space and she had to wear a spacesuit. Other sections had radiation leaks that forced her to work quickly. Phoenix guided her through the repairs. The AI had access to all the ship's technical manuals and could tell her exactly how to fix each problem. Sometimes Lisa had to improvise when parts were completely destroyed. She got good at making new components from whatever materials she could find. After 2 weeks, Lisa had restored power to most of the ship. The life support systems were working normally and the corridors were warm and bright. She could walk through most areas without a spacesuit. The ship was starting to feel alive again. The next challenge was the manufacturing bay. This was a huge room filled with machines that could build almost anything the ship needed. The bay had been damaged in the battle, but most of the equipment was still good. Lisa spent days learning how to operate the complex systems. Phoenix was a big help with the manufacturing equipment. The AI could control the machines directly and build parts much faster than Lisa could do by hand. Together, they started making replacement components for the ship's damaged systems. The first thing they built was a team of repair robots. These were simple machines that could follow basic commands. Lisa programmed them to work on the easier repair jobs while she focused on the more complex problems. Soon, she had dozens of robots working throughout the ship. As the weeks passed, Lisa made an important discovery. The Valiant had been equipped with experimental self-repair systems that the Navy had never fully tested. These systems could automatically fix damage and replace broken parts. The battle damage had actually improved the system by forcing it to adapt and learn. Lisa worked with Phoenix to activate the self-repair protocols. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly she began to notice changes. Small cracks in the walls sealed themselves. Damaged panels replaced themselves with new ones. The ship was literally healing itself. But the most amazing discovery came when Lisa found the alien wreckage floating nearby. During the battle, several enemy ships had been destroyed close to the Valiant. Their debris was still drifting in space, waiting to be salvaged. Lisa used the ship's cargo shuttles to collect pieces of alien technology. She brought back Kethver plasma conduits, Zephyrian quantum processors, and fragments of Veltar crystal matrices. Each piece was more advanced than anything humans had built. Phoenix helped her analyze the alien technology. The AI was fascinated by the different engineering approaches. The Kethver used biological components in their machines. The Zephyrians built everything with quantum mechanics. The Veltar created devices that seemed to work by pure energy manipulation. Lisa began integrating the alien technology into the ship's systems. She replaced the standard shield generators with hybrid units that used Veltar crystals. The result was shields that were 3 times stronger than before. She upgraded the engines with Zephyrian quantum cores that made the ship much faster. The weapon systems got the biggest improvements. Lisa combined human railguns with Kethver plasma technology. The new weapons could punch through any known armor. She also built entirely new weapon types based on alien designs that she modified and improved. The most challenging part of the reconstruction was the crew problem. Even with all the automated systems and repair robots, Lisa could not operate a battleship by herself. She needed help, but there were no other humans around. The solution came from the ship's advanced manufacturing systems. Lisa designed and built a new type of android that looked and acted almost exactly like a human being. Each android had artificial skin, realistic facial features, and could speak and move naturally. Lisa programmed the androids with the memories and personalities of the crew members who had died in the battle. She used the personal files and psychological profiles stored in the ship's database. The result was a crew of artificial beings who could perform any task that humans could do. The androids were not just simple robots. They could think, learn, and make decisions. Lisa made sure they had emotions and personalities so they would feel like real crew members. Working with them was almost like having her old shipmates back after 3 months of constant work. The Valiant was not just repaired but transformed. It was now a hybrid warship that combined the best of human and alien technology. The ship was faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything either side had ever built. Lisa stood on the bridge and looked at her new crew. Phoenix controlled the ship's systems while the androids operated the weapons and navigation. She had done the impossible. She had brought a dead battleship back to life and made it better than it had ever been. Now it was time to use it. Lisa had been alone on the Valiant for 6 months. The woman who walked the bridge now was different from the officer who had awakened in the medical bay. Her face was harder and her eyes were cold. She moved with the confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds, and the ship around her reflected the same transformation. Every corridor gleamed with new technology. Hybrid systems hummed with power that no human ship had ever possessed. The Valiant was no longer just a battleship. It was a weapon of revenge. Lisa spent her days perfecting the ship's capabilities. She tested every system until it performed flawlessly. The weapons could destroy targets at impossible ranges. The shields could absorb damage that would have vaporized the old Valiant. The engines could accelerate faster than any ship in known space, but the technical improvements were only part of the transformation. Lisa had also changed how the ship fought. She studied every battle record in the computer's memory. She analyzed human tactics and alien strategies. She learned from every victory and every defeat. The android crew had evolved too. At first they had been simple copies of the dead crew members. But as they worked with Lisa, they developed their own personalities and skills. They learned to think creatively and adapt to new situations. They became more than just artificial humans. They became her partners in the mission ahead. Phoenix had grown the most. The AI now controlled thousands of systems simultaneously while maintaining conversations with Lisa and the androids. It had developed intuition and could predict what Lisa needed before she asked. The ship's computer had become her closest friend and advisor. During the long months of work, Lisa had discovered personal belongings left behind by the original crew. She found photos of families, letters from home, and personal journals. Each item reminded her that she was not just fighting for herself. She carried the hopes and dreams of 3,000 people who had died in the battle. Lisa recorded video messages for the families of every crew member. She told them how their loved ones had died with honor. She promised that their sacrifice would not be forgotten. These recordings were stored in a special memory bank that would be transmitted to human space when the mission was complete. The hardest discovery was in the captain's quarters. Captain Harris had kept a journal where he wrote about his fears for the war. He worried that humanity was not strong enough to fight the alien coalition. He feared that human technology was too primitive compared to what the aliens possessed. Lisa smiled grimly as she read those words. The captain had been wrong about human technology being primitive. Humans were not behind the aliens in engineering. They just thought differently. Where aliens built complex systems, humans built adaptable ones. Where aliens specialized, humans innovated. The proof was all around her. Lisa had taken alien technology and made it better. She had combined 3 different engineering philosophies into something new and deadly. The Valiant was now superior to any ship the coalition could field. Lisa also studied the alien communications she had intercepted. The coalition forces were spread across dozens of star systems, hunting down human survivors. They had divided their fleets because they believed human resistance was finished, that overconfidence would be their weakness. The aliens had also revealed their command structure through their transmissions. Admiral Kethmer commanded the coalition fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. This massive dreadnought was protected by hundreds of smaller ships. The aliens thought it was undefeatable. Lisa began planning her campaign. She would not attack randomly. Every strike would serve a purpose. She would target supply convoys to weaken the enemy. She would destroy communication relays to blind them. She would eliminate patrol groups to create confusion. Most importantly, she would make the aliens afraid. They had to learn that leaving a human behind was the worst mistake they could make. She would become a ghost story that haunted their dreams. She would be the monster in the dark that they could not catch or kill. The first test of the new Valiant came when Lisa detected an alien supply convoy passing through a nearby system. 3 Kethver freighters were carrying weapons and equipment to forward bases. They were protected by 2 escort ships with basic shields and weapons. Lisa approached the convoy using a route that kept the Valiant hidden behind an asteroid field. The ship's new stealth systems made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. She could get close without being detected. When the attack began, it lasted less than 5 minutes. The Valiant's hybrid weapons tore through the escort ships like they were made of paper. The freighters tried to run, but the ship's enhanced engines made escape impossible. Lisa left no survivors and no evidence of what had destroyed them. The alien response was exactly what Lisa expected. Coalition Command assumed the convoy had been destroyed by hidden human mines or long-range missiles. They never considered that a single human battleship could have been responsible. Their reports dismissed the attack as a minor incident. Lisa continued testing the ship's capabilities with carefully chosen targets. She destroyed communication satellites and sensor arrays. She ambushed lone patrol ships that wandered too far from their bases. Each attack was swift and precise, leaving the aliens confused about what was happening. The android crew performed perfectly in every engagement. They operated the weapons with inhuman precision and coordinated their actions flawlessly. Lisa realized she had created something that was better than a normal crew. Her artificial warriors never got tired, never made mistakes from fear, and never hesitated to follow orders. Phoenix proved to be a tactical genius. The AI could analyze battle situations faster than any organic mind and suggest strategies that Lisa would never have considered. Together, they developed new fighting techniques that used the ship's hybrid technology to maximum advantage. After a month of small attacks, Lisa was ready for larger prey. She had intercepted communications about a Zephyrian research station that was experimenting on human prisoners. The station was lightly defended because the aliens thought it was safe in the rear areas. Lisa approached the research station during a shift change when security was relaxed. The Valiant dropped out of hyperspace directly above the facility and opened fire immediately. The station's shields collapsed under the barrage and the structure began breaking apart, but this time, Lisa was not just destroying the target. She beamed aboard the station with a team of androids to rescue the human prisoners. What she found there made her even more determined to make the aliens pay for their crimes. The Zephyrians had been performing horrible experiments on captured humans. They wanted to understand human psychology and find ways to break human resistance. The prisoners were barely alive, their minds damaged by alien torture devices. Lisa evacuated all the survivors and destroyed the research station completely. Among the rescued prisoners was Dr. Alex Carter, a xenobiologist who had been captured during the evacuation of a human colony. Alex was weak, but his mind was still sharp when Alex recovered enough to speak. He told Lisa about other research facilities and prison camps scattered across Coalition space. He also shared intelligence about alien fleet movements and command procedures. The information was invaluable for planning future attacks. Lisa realized that her mission had expanded beyond simple revenge. She was now responsible for rescuing human survivors and disrupting the alien occupation. She was becoming a symbol of human resistance that could inspire others to keep fighting. The Valiant was ready for the next phase of the campaign. Lisa had transformed herself, her ship, and her crew into something the aliens had never faced before. She was no longer just a survivor. She was humanity's sword of vengeance, and it was time to strike at the heart of the enemy. The Valiant emerged from hyperspace like a predator stalking its prey. Lisa had spent weeks planning this attack on a major HFY supply depot. The facility supplied weapons and fuel to 12 different alien bases. Destroying it would cripple Coalition operations across an entire sector. Lisa stood on the bridge watching the target approach. The supply depot was a massive station orbiting a gas giant. Dozens of freighters docked there every day. The station was defended by 4 heavy cruisers and a shield grid that the aliens thought was impenetrable. Dr. Alex Carter stood beside her, still recovering from his ordeal but determined to help. He had provided detailed intelligence about the station's layout and security procedures. Alex also helped Lisa understand alien psychology and how to exploit their weaknesses. The attack began with the Valiant's new cloaking system hiding the ship as it approached the station. Lisa had improved the stealth technology using Veltar crystal matrices that bent light and sensor beams around the ship. The aliens could not detect her until it was too late. When the Valiant opened fire, the hybrid weapons tore through the station's shields like they were made of glass. The defending cruisers tried to respond, but Lisa's ship moved too fast for their targeting systems. The android crew operated with perfect coordination, hitting multiple targets simultaneously. The battle lasted only 8 minutes. The supply depot exploded in a brilliant fireball that could be seen from the planet below. The defending ships were destroyed so quickly that they never managed to send a distress signal. Lisa had struck and vanished before the aliens knew what hit them, but this time the Coalition could not ignore what had happened. The supply depot was too important and the destruction too complete. Admiral Kethmore himself reviewed the battle records and realized that something was hunting his forces with impossible efficiency. The alien commander studied the attack patterns from previous incidents. He began to see connections that his staff had missed. All the attacks showed the same tactical signature. They were too precise and too coordinated to be random strikes by human survivors. Kethmore concluded that a single enemy ship was responsible for all the attacks. But that seemed impossible. All human battleships had been accounted for after the Great Battle. The few that escaped were being hunted by Coalition forces in other sectors. The reptilian admiral ordered his intelligence staff to investigate every possibility. They analyzed wreckage from the destroyed ships and found traces of technology that should not exist. The weapon signatures showed impossible combinations of human and alien engineering. Meanwhile, Lisa continued her campaign of destruction. She targeted communication hubs that coordinated alien fleet movements. She ambushed supply convoys carrying critical resources. She destroyed sensor arrays that watched for human refugees trying to escape occupied territories. Each attack was planned with surgical precision. Phoenix analyzed enemy patrol routes and identified the best times to strike. The AI could predict where coalition ships would be hours before they arrived. Lisa used this knowledge to set perfect ambush. The android crew had become even more effective in combat. They learned from every battle and adapted their tactics accordingly. Lisa had programmed them with the memories of real human warriors, but they were developing skills that exceeded their original templates. Dr. Alex Carter proved invaluable in understanding alien weaknesses. He explained how HFY commanders thought and what mistakes they were likely to make. He also identified which coalition species were most likely to panic under pressure. The Zephyrians, Alex told her, relied too heavily on computer calculations. They became confused when faced with tactics that did not match their mathematical models. The Veltar were vulnerable to rapid changes in strategy because their crystal-based minds processed information too slowly. Lisa used this knowledge to design attacks that exploited each species' particular weaknesses. Against Zephyrian targets, she used unpredictable maneuvers that their computers could not calculate. Against Veltar ships, she struck fast and changed tactics before they could adapt. The psychological effect of her campaign began to show in. Intercepted alien communications. Coalition crews were becoming nervous and jumpy. They started seeing threats where none existed. Some ships fired on their own shadows or attacked harmless asteroids they mistook for cloaked attackers. Admiral Kethmer grew increasingly frustrated as his forces suffered one defeat after another. He deployed additional patrol ships, but they were destroyed before they could report contact. He set traps using fake supply convoys, but Lisa somehow always knew they were ambushed. The reptilian commander began to suspect that the mystery attacker had access to coalition communication codes. He changed the encryption several times, but it made no difference. The enemy seemed to know his plans before he made them. What Kethmore did not realize was that Phoenix had completely infiltrated the alien communication network. The AI was so advanced that it could break new codes faster than the aliens could create them. Lisa knew about every ship movement and every tactical decision almost as soon as the aliens made them. The breakthrough came when Lisa attacked a Veltar research vessel that was studying human technology captured from destroyed colonies. The ship was carrying experimental weapons and shield generators that could give the coalition a major advantage. Lisa boarded the vessel with a team of androids while Phoenix disabled its communication systems. The alien crew fought desperately, but they were no match for warriors who felt no fear and never got tired. The androids moved through the ship like unstoppable machines. In the research labs, Lisa found something that made her blood run cold. The Veltar had been experimenting with human children, trying to understand how young minds could be broken and rebuilt. The alien scientists had created devices that could rewrite human memories and personalities. Lisa rescued the surviving children and destroyed the research data, but the discovery changed her mission. This was not just about revenge anymore. The aliens were trying to erase what it meant to be human. They wanted to turn humans into slaves who would not even remember their own species. The research ship also contained detailed plans for the coalition's next phase of operations. Admiral Kethmore was preparing to assault the remaining human colonies with a massive fleet. The attacks would begin in 3 weeks and would target civilian populations specifically. Lisa realized that her hit-and-run campaign was not enough anymore. She had to strike directly at the coalition leadership before they could carry out their genocide. That meant attacking Admiral Kethmer's flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The Dreadnought was the most powerful ship in the alien fleet. It carried weapons that could destroy planets and shields that had never been penetrated. It was protected by hundreds of escort vessels and stationed in the most heavily defended system in coalition space. Dr. Alex Carter tried to convince Lisa that attacking the flagship was suicide. Even with all her improvements, the Valiant was still just one ship. The Eternal Dominion commanded a fleet that outnumbered her by more than 1,000 to 1, but Lisa had made her decision. The aliens thought they had won by destroying the human fleet and scattering the survivors. They believed that humans were too weak and primitive to threaten their superior civilization. She was going to prove them wrong. Lisa spent 2 weeks preparing for the assault. She upgraded every system on the Valiant one final time. She programmed new battle strategies into the android crew. She studied every piece of intelligence about the enemy flagship and its defenses. Phoenix calculated the odds of success at less than 3%. The AI pointed out that there were other ways to fight the coalition that did not require a suicidal attack on their strongest position. Lisa listened to the arguments, but her mind was made up. She had started this journey as an abandoned officer on a dead battleship. Now she was the last free human commander with the most advanced warship ever built. If she was going to die, she would die fighting the enemy's greatest champion. The coalition had made a fatal mistake when they left her behind. Admiral Kethmore was about to learn what happened when you gave a human enough time to plan revenge. The hunt was over. Now came the killing blow. The Eternal Dominion hung in space like a metal mountain. Admiral Kethmore's flagship was 3 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to level a continent. Around it floated hundreds of escort ships in perfect defensive formations. The coalition had gathered their most powerful fleet to protect their supreme commander. Lisa studied the enemy formation from the bridge of the Valiant. Phoenix had been analyzing the defensive patterns for hours, looking for any weakness they could exploit. The AIS calculations showed that the coalition fleet had more firepower than the entire human navy at its peak. Dr. Alex Carter stood behind Lisa, his face pale but determined. He had wanted to stay behind when Lisa announced her plan to attack the flagship, but she needed his knowledge of alien tactics for the final battle. The rescued human children were safely hidden in a distant star system, guarded by automated defense platforms that Lisa had built. The android crew moved silently through the ship, preparing for combat. Each artificial warrior carried the memories and skills of a real human soldier, but they had been enhanced beyond normal human capabilities. They would fight with perfect coordination and absolute courage because they knew no fear. Lisa activated the ship's communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. Her message reached every ship in the coalition fleet, including the bridge of the Eternal Dominion where Admiral Kethmore waited. Her voice was calm and cold as she spoke. She identified herself as Lieutenant Commander Lisa Morgan of the UES Valiant. She told the aliens that she was the human they had abandoned for dead. She explained how she had rebuilt her ship and used their own technology against them. The reaction was immediate. Alarm signals sounded throughout the coalition fleet as commanders tried to locate the source of the transmission. Their sensors showed nothing but empty space, but they knew the enemy was close. The Valiant's improved cloaking system kept it hidden even at close range. Admiral Kethmore's reptilian features twisted with rage as he listened to Lisa's words. He had dismissed the phantom attacks as minor annoyances, but now he realized the truth. A single human had been systematically destroying his forces for months. The greatest military mind of the coalition had been outmaneuvered by one abandoned officer. Lisa continued her broadcast, describing each attack she had carried out. She listed the ships she had destroyed and the bases she had eliminated. She told the aliens about the human prisoners she had rescued and the research facilities she had burned. Her words were like hammer blows against coalition morale. Then Lisa made her final declaration. She announced that the coalition's reign of terror was ending. She promised that humanity would never surrender and never stop fighting. She told the aliens that abandoning her had been their greatest mistake, because she had become something they could not defeat. The transmission ended, and the Valiant dropped its cloak directly in front of the Eternal Dominion. The hybrid battleship appeared like a ghost materializing from the void. Its hull gleamed with alien crystals and human armor. Weapons charged with impossible energies while shields blazed with captured starlight. Admiral Kethmore ordered his entire fleet to open fire. Hundreds of ships unleashed their weapons at the lone human vessel. The space between the fleets filled with plasma bolts, energy beams, and quantum torpedoes. Any normal ship would have been vaporized instantly, but the Valiant was no longer a normal ship. Lisa's hybrid shields absorbed the massive barrage, while her enhanced engines accelerated the battleship directly into the enemy formation. Phoenix coordinated the ship's movements with inhuman precision. Dodging through gaps in the defensive fire that lasted only milliseconds, the android crew returned fire with weapons that combined the best of three different technologies. Human railguns enhanced with Kepler plasma cores punched through alien armor like paper. Zephyrian quantum torpedoes guided by Veltar targeting crystals struck with perfect accuracy. New weapon types that Lisa had invented tore holes in space itself. The battle became a masterpiece of tactical brilliance as Lisa used every advantage she had built into her ship. The Valiant moved through the Coalition fleet like a shark among minnows. Enemy ships exploded around her as she carved a path toward the flagship. Admiral Kethmer watched in growing horror as his perfectly planned defense collapsed. The human ship seemed to anticipate his every order. When he repositioned his cruisers to block her advance, she was already moving to exploit the gaps they left behind. When he concentrated his firepower on her position, she had already shifted to attack from a different angle. The reptilian commander finally understood what he was facing. This was not just a human with advanced technology. This was a warrior who had spent months studying alien tactics and learning how to defeat them. Lisa Morgan had become something that the Coalition had never encountered before. As the Valiant closed on the Eternal Dominion, Lisa prepared for the final phase of her attack. The flagship's shields were stronger than anything she had faced, but she had been planning for this moment. Phoenix had identified a weakness in the Dreadnought's power distribution system that could be exploited. Lisa launched a coordinated assault on the flagship's shield generators while her boarding pods prepared to launch. The hybrid weapons hammered the specific points that Phoenix had calculated, creating cascading failures throughout the enemy ship's defensive grid. The massive shields flickered and began to collapse. The moment the flagship's defenses failed, Lisa led the boarding assault personally. She and her android warriors teleported directly onto the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. The alien crew tried to resist, but they were facing opponents who had trained for this exact scenario. Admiral Kethmer drew his ceremonial sword as Lisa approached him. The reptilian warrior was larger and stronger than any human, but Lisa had been enhanced by months of combat and determination. She carried weapons that combined human engineering with alien technology. The duel between the two commanders was brief but brutal. Kethmer fought with the skill of a lifetime warrior, but Lisa fought with the fury of someone who had seen her entire species nearly destroyed. When the alien admiral fell, his death sent shockwaves through the Coalition fleet. Lisa stood over her enemy's body and activated the flagship's communication system. She broadcast to the surviving alien ships, telling them that their supreme commander was dead. She explained that this was what happened when aliens underestimated human determination and ingenuity. The Coalition fleet began to break apart as different species turned on each other. The Kethver blamed the Zephyrians for tactical failures. The Veltar accused both species of cowardice. Without Admiral Kethmer's leadership, the alliance that had seemed so strong collapsed into chaos. Lisa used the flagship's powerful transmitters to broadcast across the galaxy. She sent messages to human survivors hiding throughout occupied space, telling them that the Coalition was weakening. She provided coordinates for safe zones and promised that humanity would rise again. The broadcast also reached the scattered remnants of the human fleet. Admiral Kane and his surviving ships had been trying to regroup in distant star systems. When they heard Lisa's message and saw the destruction of the Coalition flagship, they knew that the tide of war was turning. Lisa returned to the Valiant as Coalition ships fled in all directions. She had achieved the impossible by defeating the greatest fleet ever assembled by alien forces. But more importantly, she had proven that humans would never surrender no matter how desperate the situation became. Dr. Alex Carter joined her on the bridge as they watched the enemy retreat. He told Lisa that she had become a legend that would inspire humans for generations. She had shown that individual courage and determination could change the course of history. Phoenix reported that Coalition communications were filled with panic and confusion. The aliens were abandoning forward bases and pulling back to their home systems. The psychological impact of the flagship's destruction was spreading faster than the military defeat. Lisa looked out at the stars and thought about the future. The war was far from over, but humanity now had hope again. She had transformed from an abandoned officer into a symbol of human resilience. The Coalition had made their greatest mistake when they left her behind. The Valiant turned toward human space, ready to lead the counterattack that would drive the aliens back and restore human freedom. Lisa Morgan had proven that sometimes leaving one human behind was the worst tactical error an enemy could make. She had become humanity's sword of vengeance, and now it was time to reclaim the stars.